Welcome back to the McCoy Leadership Podcast, elevating your impact through valuable insights and conversations about leadership. Welcome back to another episode of the McCoy Leadership Podcast, and today we have Michael Morgan with us. Michael, which out of all of the things that he has had go on in his life, I would have to say that the most exciting is he got his bachelor's from Penn State and his MBA from Carnegie Mellon University. And that part in Pennsylvania is what makes that so exciting because, of course, I'm from Pennsylvania and all good things come from Pennsylvania. I'm just kidding to the rest of the states. But Michael has an amazing background. He's worked across the United States in all kinds of companies. And he's also recently written a book, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But Michael, thank you so much for coming and tell us a little bit about yourself. How in the world did you end up where you are today talking about leadership as your business?
Oh, thank you for having me as a guest on your show, Amos. So like you said, I have an interesting background. I've been a few different places across the U.S., raised in New York. So I was born in Queens. I grew up in Rockland. To your point, I went to Penn State for undergrad, majored in business management. Then I moved to Delaware. I worked for JP Morgan in Delaware. After JP Morgan, I moved to Pittsburgh, got my MBA with Carnegie Mellon, focusing on operations, strategy, and organizational behavior. From Pittsburgh, moved to Houston, Texas, worked for Chevron. From Houston, I moved to Seattle, Washington, worked for Amazon. From Amazon, I moved to San Francisco, California, worked for Walmart. And currently, I live in Austin, Texas. I work for a startup in cybersecurity called Netscope. But along with working for Netscope, like you said, I wrote my first book called The Power of Networking. And now I'm a motivational speaker. So I speak at conferences, I speak at universities, companies, organizations. So very, very vast background across different locations, different industries, different companies. But it's all culminated to where I am today as a published author, an award-winning author, and a motivational speaker.
Awesome. Now, completely unrelated, but you spent time in New York. You grew up there, Pennsylvania and Delaware. And I just got to ask, through all of that, you had to travel through New Jersey from time to time, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What is wrong with the people in New Jersey, and why won't they let you make a left-hand turn? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't explain it, but I mean, that's just the way it is out there.
We got to have a little bit of fun along the way. But the first few times I went out there, I got so frustrated because every time I saw something on the left side that I wanted to go to, I had to make 3 right-hand turns to get there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the roundabouts either.
So you've lived all across the United States in all the cities you just mentioned, New York, Texas, California, Pennsylvania. How has the geographic diversity influenced your personal and professional growth? Did it help you? Did it hurt you? I mean, what have you learned through all of those different areas and the geographical diversity?
Yeah, I would say absolutely it helped me. I would say one, my ability to adapt to different situations. I'm not only moving to cities and states that I've never visited, I've never lived, but I'm also starting with a brand new company. So my ability to be put in a situation where I'm in a brand new city, brand new state, brand new company, get up to speed, acclimate, meet new people wherever I live, be successful, find a new support system, be able to network. I mean, that's the core of my book. I have a lot of people in my network that have tried to move to different cities, different states, different countries, and it hasn't worked out for them. They weren't able to build their network in a new place and just didn't feel comfortable and eventually moved back home. I mean, at this point in my life, I can live anywhere, whether it's in the U.S., whether it's overseas. I'm not afraid of anything. So the fact that I'm comfortable with the uncomfortable, I think that has made me resilient in my personal life, and it's made me resilient in my professional career. I mean, every time that you're put in a work situation, you're not always provided with a blueprint of how to do the job. Sometimes you're going to have to deal with ambiguity. Sometimes you're going to have to deal with change. Sometimes you're going to have to adapt. There are times where I've worked on projects, initiatives, where one day our plan is to do X, and 6 months later we deviate, we completely scrap the project, and now we're heading towards Y. But my ability to be flexible and adaptable to any situation, I think, has made me very strong when it comes to being successful in the workplace.
Now, out of curiosity, that first time when you moved out, probably going to State College to get your undergraduate, so that might have been your first time out away from home. Was it as easy that time as it is now, the 11th time or however many moves you've had? I'm curious, did you take to it immediately when you got to State College? You were able to do all the things you're talking about, or did it take you a little while to figure out, I need to network with people and I need to create a support network? What was your journey there?
Yeah, Penn State, I would say it took a little bit of time. Like I said, you're in a brand new city, new state, new school. So like acclimating, getting up to speed. I would say it was helpful for me. I had friends from New York that actually went to Penn State with me that were years ahead of me. So I had a friend, Rob Brown, Jason Brooks. So that made it a little bit easier of a transition because they had already built their friend groups. So once I arrived at Penn State and I knew them, they brought me into their friend group. So I had a little bit of a support system. But I also wanted to build a friend group of my own. So that was me putting myself out there and meeting other students and peers. So I'd say Penn State was definitely the most difficult because it was the first time. But at this point, to me, it's almost second nature. Like I said, I feel like I can move anywhere, and it's very easy to meet new people and build a new network.
Now, I guess I'm spending more time here than I anticipated, but you talked about creating a friend group and a support network and those things. Now, are you talking about just purely creating that on Facebook or LinkedIn, or are you actually going out and seeing real people in person and connecting with them?
Oh no, I'm big on that face-to-face interaction, meeting people in person. I love technology. I love social media. I think it's great to leverage so that you can continue to maintain your network. Especially people in my network are global. I have friends all over the country. I have friends in different countries around the world. I feel you can't see everybody face to face as much as I would love to. But like when I was at Penn State, I made the effort to go out and meet people in person. Yes, we can connect on social media to make sure that we keep in touch. But as much as possible, I was trying to go out and meet with people, whether we go to the student union building or grab something to eat or go to class together or study together. Just try to find ways to build those relationships and really get to know them as individuals.
And I'll be honest, the reason I kind of asked that question to delineate there was that I'm a little bit fearful. I have a young niece and nephew, I think 3 and 5, 4 and 5, and they recently were home, and there were some, of course, they were home, there were family, there were social media posts. And these young children were looking at the phone, at the video that had been posted, and were like, look, I have 6 hearts. That means 6 people like me. And it just kind of hit me at that moment that, are we getting confused about connecting, networking, and so that was why I asked the question. I had a feeling I knew the answer, but I was just curious because I think for the young people out there, it's going to be easier and easier for them to get confused a little bit as young children, and then growing up. A like or a friend on social media could be a great friend, but it's not necessarily a great friend. And I had an experience, I mentioned to you before the show that I'm also an auctioneer. And I had somebody come to an auction and they introduced themselves and kind of were like, you know who I am. And I said, have we met before? And they said, well, yeah, we're friends. And I said, oh, we are. And they said, well, yeah, I follow you on Facebook and I love your post. And I thought in my mind, I was like, well, you're not my friend. And you could be, and you might be, but you're not today. So anyhow, I digress a little bit, but I thought that was a valuable lesson. So we wanted to talk a little bit today about your look and thoughts on focusing on critical path. Can you explain in your words, what does critical path mean to you in the context of career, personal development, and professional development?
Yes, absolutely. So I learned about critical path. One of my professors at Carnegie Mellon, his name is Dr. Robert Kelly. He actually wrote a book on critical path, and I've had a lot of discussions with him on it. But essentially, critical path is making sure that you're focusing on the most critical item for the company. So as an example, I used to work at Amazon. Amazon has a lot of different businesses. They have Amazon Business, they have the retail side, they have Alexa. Amazon's making a bulk of its money from AWS, Amazon Web Services. That is one of the most critical businesses. That is the most revenue generating business. And if you want to get more visibility and you want to work on a big initiative that has a global impact, you should probably work in Amazon Web Services. So when I first joined Amazon, I started off on the retail side. And the retail part of Amazon is probably what it's most well known for. That's how the company started. But the retail side has been around for 30 years at this point. At this point, you're basically maintaining the ship on the retail side. You're not exponentially changing revenue year over year. But AWS is still growing like crazy, and it's generating such a vast amount of money for the company that when you work for AWS, you're making a huge impact on the organization. So when I was working with AWS, I was traveling to Dublin. I traveled to Tokyo. I traveled to Hong Kong. I traveled to Seoul. I traveled around the world working on different initiatives, and I had a global impact. I had way more visibility, and the impact from a financial standpoint of the initiatives that I worked on at AWS was leaps and bounds above the impact that I made working on the retail side. So as an employee, it's critical for you to understand what is the critical path, what is the most important projects, initiatives, deliverables that's going on with your company, and determine the ways that you can get involved in those areas. That will really help you excel in your role, excel in your career, and get to that next level.
So then if I identify in my job what the critical path is it okay to just ignore everything else, or do I just have to prioritize differently? I mean, what are your thoughts? Do I just say, okay, I know my job consists of all of these other things, but this one thing is more important than everything else, so I'm just going to do it, forget everything else, even though my boss told me I needed to do it, and I'm going to concentrate on this because I'm going to take his job someday. Is that how it works?
Definitely not. So work is about multitasking. So when you start a role, you may have specific tasks that are within your realm of responsibility. So first and foremost, focus on what's in your realm of responsibility. What I see a lot of people do is they try to bite off more than they can chew. So they'll say they'll have this focus, and they're like, oh, this looks nice, so let's work on. And now they're trying to do too much, and then they fail at everything. So you don't want to take on more than you can handle. If you are able to do your job and excel in your specific realm and go above and beyond and work on other things in addition, that's what's going to get you to the next level. So every company that I've worked at, they're not promoting you based on potential. They're promoting you based on the fact that you're already going above and beyond your scope. So if my scope of work says X and I'm able to multitask, get everything done on my plate, go above and beyond and work on something on critical path on top of that, and I'm able to effectively prioritize what are the most critical initiatives that I need to complete first versus things that I can work on later, that's what's going to differentiate me. So my colleagues and peers may be working on A and B, whereas I'm working on A, B, C, and D. That shows the breadth that I'm able to execute. I'm able to do twice as much work in the same amount of time as my peers. Mike is performing at the next level. He should be a senior manager. He should be a director. He should be a VP. And that's how you're getting promoted to the next level.
So, I've run into this in many organizations. What about the guy or girl that says, well, I'm going to do my job and I want that promotion over there because if they give me that promotion, I'll be able to show them what I can do. Or the person that kind of has the mindset of, I need the promotion to make myself successful, almost like some magical powers come with the title that will automatically make them now more productive or more efficient or more effective. What are your thoughts to that person that maybe, should you work harder on the front end to try to prove yourself and get there and find that critical path? Or is it something that you just kind of wait for and one day maybe you get lucky and you get that promotion and magical powers come with it?
So I would say you have to put the work in first. To your point, it's not as though like promotion is just a title change. So if I'm not already putting in that work before, it's not as though I get promoted to the next level and now all of a sudden I'm a better employee and I'm stronger at what I'm doing. Like I said, most companies promote based on the fact that you're already performing at that level, not based on your your expected abilities in the future. So you have to already be performing at that level and proving that this is my role. And most jobs have what they call like a job leveling guide. So it will say, as a business analyst, your expectations are this. As a senior manager, your expectations are this. As a director, your expectations are this. So you should be able to go to your supervisor and say, I'm already performing at the next level. These are the reasons that I should be promoted. It's not as though you get promoted and you get magical powers and you're a better employee. You've already demonstrated that you're performing at that level. And that's the reason that you're getting promoted to the next level.
But Michael, I've been here longer than you. I put in my time. I've done all of these things. I even went to those classes that they asked me to go to last year that I didn't want to go to, and I didn't learn anything, but I went. Why can't I have the promotion? Why are you getting it and not me?
I'd say it's a couple of things. One, networking is critical. So it's not just about doing your job and attending trainings.
I don't want to talk to people. I just come and do my job. I don't want to connect with anybody, but I should be rewarded.
You have to look at networking as part of your job. I look at it as part of my job. So if you don't have the right leaders who are supporting you and advocating for you, it doesn't matter what your work performance all the time. It matters. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. So if I have the right people who are advocating for me and fighting to bring me up and get me to that next level, that's what's going to get me promoted. I think a lot of people don't understand. So a lot of times in these companies, it may be an organization of 400, 500 people. And there may be a group of 10 to 20 leaders sitting in a room, ranking all employees in an organization on a scale and determining who's getting promoted and who's not getting promoted. And sometimes your manager may be in the room. Sometimes your manager may not be in the room. So if the key players and decision makers don't know who you are, don't know the value you bring to the table, and don't know your aspirations to get promoted to the next level, you will probably get overlooked, even though you're performing your job. So it's very important for you to network, even though you may not want to network. You have to look at it as part of your job.
So, and I couldn't help but have a little bit of fun with that. Obviously, for all of our listeners, everybody knows that I don't view things that way. But we so often do run into folks that are kind of, in that thought pattern and not, to your point, showing the leaders currently in place, that they want to move up, that they want to take on more. And the only other thing that I kind of was thinking about, and I think you said, well, you make networking part of your job, or make it something that you do on a daily basis or on a regular basis at least. And one of the things I know for myself is sometimes, everybody's different, and I talk about this quite a bit. All people are different, but they're predictably different, and we also have to understand who we are. And for me, if it's not on my task list, I might not get it done, because I really put a lot of emphasis on my task list. That's just who I am. So sometimes I put on my task list, things that some people would say, why are you putting that on there? But I need it there so that I know I can execute it, and then I feel successful, I guess. But at the end of the day, I may put on there, go to coffee shop and talk to owners. That's just so, and there happens to be a local coffee shop right here in town. And I'll go up to One North and maybe try to get to know the owners a little bit. And maybe there's something I can do for them. Maybe they'll be a client of mine. Maybe I get a free cup of coffee. I don't know. My point is, I have to put it on my list so that I get it done. And I think that's something that maybe would help some people, is some of these things that are foreign, we actually make it part of our daily job, part of our daily routine to make it happen.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I do the same thing. I'll black out time on my calendar. I'm big in personal development. So taking trainings and obtaining certifications, I try to allocate time towards that on a regular basis. So I'll block out my calendar. Same thing with networking. When my job right now is fully remote. When I was in the office 5 days a week, I blocked out my calendar. I made it a point to go to lunch with somebody different, if not every week, every 2 weeks. I made it a point to schedule coffee chat meetings. I don't even drink coffee. I still went up to coffee chat meetings with people once a week. And even now that I'm working fully remote, I'm blocking out my calendar. I'm setting up recurring virtual meetings. And that way I'm still building relationships with senior leaders, discussing the products I'm working on, expressing my aspirations of what I'm looking for next in my career and my goals. So I'm same way as you. If I don't see it on my calendar or on my to-do list, it may fall off and I forget to do it. So same thing with even working out. It has nothing to do with work, but I'm putting that on my calendar every day, because I think, in my opinion, if you can keep your physical health and your mental health in a great state, now you can perform better in the workplace. So I'm making sure I'm putting on my calendar that I'm going to the gym every morning. So I say leverage those tools.
Absolutely. And something just hit me, kind of flipping this thing. What about the business owner or the CEO that is in the office and says, well, it seems like people are standing around at the coffee pot talking. I'm getting rid of the coffee pot. I don't pay them to talk. I don't pay them to network. They're here to do a job. And we've all encountered somebody of that nature. But what would you say to that leader about what they're missing out on by taking away the opportunity, even just internally, for the people to talk and network and get to know each other? What are they losing there?
Yeah. So to me, it's very important to build the right culture. So I want all of the employees to build relationships with one another where they feel comfortable talking with one another and helping one another. I mean, the only way to get things done is if you have a strong team, and if people feel comfortable around each other and they have that small talk, they can build those relationships. It makes the team stronger. It makes the team better. I mean, you don't want a situation where people are in the office and you're just walking past each other, don't know each other, don't like each other. Like that's not going to be an effective or productive team. But when you have a team that knows each other, know about their hobbies and their families, their passions, their interests, and now they work harder for one another because they've built those strong relationships, it makes a world of difference. Those interpersonal connections, it may, from the standpoint of a business owner, it may look as though it's lost time, but it's actually building a stronger, more cohesive team that's going to lead to more productivity. If you try to take some of those things away, you're probably going to reduce employee satisfaction and reduce their production, potentially reduce their retention. They may start looking to join another company where they can have that small talk. So you really have to put yourself in the shoes of your employees and try to ensure that you're making them happy and you're providing those opportunities where they can build those relationships with their peers.
Absolutely, I would agree. Just a short example, I know early in my career, one of the manufacturing plants I worked in, there would be problems in the manufacturing plant. A machine would break down, something would happen, and some of those problems were complex. And I remember one day working with my crew, and we were really into a problem that we just couldn't figure out. And I just said, time out, let's go in the break room, take a break, I'll buy you all a soda. We went in and we talked for about 5 minutes about whatever was going on in the world, what was going on at home or whatever. And then finally somebody said, oh, hey, I thought about this. What if we try this? And then somebody else chimed in. And by taking that break and allowing communication, we actually solved the problem. And we were able to go back with fresh minds and be able to do that. And it was really back to critical path. I think it goes all the way down to whatever you're working on at that moment in time. That allowed us to remove ourselves and really look at it and say, in order to solve the problem, here's the critical path that we need to follow. So can you share a real world example of yours of where you had an obstacle that you were able to overcome by seeing that critical path and then following through?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. So I would say when I was at Amazon, when I was working with Amazon Web Services, I was working on the infrastructure side, and we're essentially building data centers globally around the world, and we're trying to scale. It's Amazon. You're always trying to figure out how can you do things more efficiently, how can you do things better. And we've launched a lot of data centers, but now we're talking about how we want to launch new data centers in cities, countries we've never launched before, that have government regulations we haven't dealt with, that have a limited number of telecom providers, that have higher prices, and they want us to launch faster than we've ever done before, with all these new complexities. And we call them war rooms. We'll all just jump in a room and we're writing on whiteboards and we're trying to brainstorm, and it can be overwhelming, and it's a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of expectations. And similar to your point, there were times where I would just tell the team, like, hey, let's take a break. Let's go grab lunch. Let's go grab dinner. And sometimes I'll offer to buy. Sometimes I may be able to expense on the company. But sometimes having that step away, that breath of fresh air, it really helps. Sometimes just having those conversations with people, like I've seen this all the time at companies, and I'm not just talking about Amazon, at many different companies where people just burn out, where there's so much expectations, there's so much pressure, and there are times where they'll lock themselves in a room and try to figure something out for 12, 15 hours a day, and they're not getting anywhere. They're spinning their wheels. And if you're able to take a step back and just kind of reset and get some clarity and just speak with other people and share ideas. I don't claim to know everything. I don't think anyone knows everything, but building those relationships with people and being able to make sure you have that diversity of thought. Everyone's bringing different perspectives to the tables. They have different work experiences, different backgrounds, different educations, and that way we can collectively come up with the best decision. But to your point, it is very critical to make sure that yes, as a company, as an organization, you have to set aggressive goals. You have to push your team, but you also have to make sure that you're giving them that good balance where they're not just constantly burnt out. Another example, like one of my direct reports recently, in 1 year, she had been engaged, so she's planning her wedding while working. She was also taking MBA classes part-time. She was taking a diversity certification through Cornell University, and she's working full-time. And, you know, obviously as her manager, I'm trying to push her. I want her to grow. I want her to develop. But I also pulled her to the side and I said, hey, I know there's a lot on your plate, not just at work. I know that you're also taking MBA level classes at this school. You're also taking this diversity certification at this school. You're also planning your wedding. Let's have an honest conversation. And if you feel overwhelmed, let's figure out how to reallocate things across the team. I want you to be a part of this team, this company for a long time. I don't want to see you get burnt out. So I think as a leader, it's very important to find that balance with your team and make sure that people are always feeling appreciated and they're having time to recharge and reset so they can be the best version of themselves when they come to work.
So great point and segue, because your expertise is not only in business. You've also achieved personal goals such as fitness milestones, travel aspirations. You're working full time. You started your own business. How in the world do you find balance between professional and personal life? How do you do it?
Ben, absolutely. So one thing to our point earlier, I think having that calendar is a good separator. Usually at a certain time in the evenings, I will cut off. I will stop, and I used to do this all the time. I would say at some of my previous jobs, I would work all times of night, 10 o'clock at night to 11, 12 o'clock. And, you know, I was always just trying to do more. Today, I am married. I just got married a month ago. And if I'm just going to sit behind my computer and work for 18 hours a day, I'm sure this is not going to be a healthy marriage. So I make sure at a certain point I cut off and I spend time with my wife. And I make sure at a certain point I cut off so I can maintain my mental health. You know, I'll try to my best to work as hard as I can during the week, Monday through Friday. The Saturday and Sunday, that's time for myself, for my friends, my family, for my personal hobbies. Even Monday through Friday, I work as hard as I can throughout the week. I make time every morning for myself, and I go to the gym. That's something that's important to me. That's not something I have to do for my job, but I'm blocking out that time in my calendar. I know my day starts every day. Every day I start at 6 a.m. That's when I hit the gym. I'm done with the gym at 7. I start my work day by 8. I'm working till about 6, 7 o'clock. And by 7 o'clock, I shut down. And whatever I'm working on, it can wait another day. So sometimes, and it depends on what you're working on, sometimes I'm working on a high priority critical item and I can't always shut down at 7. But if it's not something that has to get done that day, I make sure I push it off to the next day and I make time for myself. I think it's, like I said, going back to mental health, I think it is critical. It's important. Like I said, I've seen so many people burn out, and it leads to them being unhappy. It leads to them eventually leaving the job. And I strongly recommend having that work-life balance for anybody.
Well, first of all, congratulations on getting married a month ago.
Thank you.
That is awesome. And from a man that's been married for a few years, I would echo that if your wife did not marry you for your Excel spreadsheet skills. So, yes, turn the computer off at some point in the night and spend some time with her. But I think great advice to everybody listening. Make that time. My wife has said to me multiple times, my wife is a runner. I have to chase after her if I want to spend time with her. So she's the runner. I just run behind her. And at any rate, many times I'll go for weeks without going for a run. And I'll say, I really want to go for a run. And my wife will often say to me, if you really wanted to go for a run, you would make time. I'm like, but I don't have time. There's not enough time in the day. And she'll remind me that if you really want to do it, you will make time. And it's just a reminder to me that many times we artificially make ourselves busy in some ways. There are some things that can wait till tomorrow. So before we end, I wanted to hear a little bit about your book. the power of networking. Tell us just a little bit about that and maybe where folks can find it if they're interested in learning more about networking.
Yes, absolutely. So obviously the book is called The Power of Networking. The heart and core of it is around building and maintaining relationships. And that can lead to success both in your professional career as well as your personal life. I also get into a lot of different areas that are business focused, how to interview effectively, how to excel in your role, how to advance in your career, how to navigate workplace challenges, how to transition from an individual contributor to a people manager role. So I get into a lot of tips and advice, but to the point that I brought up earlier, networking is critical. Networking, one, it often helps get your foot in the door. A lot of these roles that people apply to, there are hundreds of other applicants, if not more, that are applying. If you at least know someone that's within the company, whether it's a recruiter or an employee that can refer you or help you prep for the interview, the way that Amazon interviews is different than Walmart, is different than JP Morgan. If you know someone internally that can give you guidance and help you understand if that's the right company and fit for you, it makes a world of difference. Once you get your foot in the door, if you have the right network around you, it can help you get the job done. A lot of times you will be asked to do things and you may not have a clue how to do it. And sometimes you can teach yourself. You might be able to search for it on Google or take a training or read a book, or a lot of companies have like an internal wiki page you can leverage. But if you have an internal resource that you can leverage that may be able to teach you or point you in the right direction, they're going to help you excel in your role and get the job done. And then third, to the point that I brought up earlier, if you want to advance in your career and you don't have the right mentors, sponsors that are advocating you, providing you with that guidance and support to help you get to the next level, is going to make it very difficult. So having that network within your job, it makes a world of difference. Even outside of your job, the network is critical. Like I said, I've moved a lot of places, and having that network has helped me transition to different cities, different companies. It's opened up the door for opportunities. I've invested in real estate because of opportunities where my network is presented to me. I've invested in startups because of opportunities my network has informed me. If I didn't have the right people in my network, I wouldn't know about these opportunities, and it would impact where I am financially today. So there's so many benefits of networking. I hope the listeners look for my book. It's available on all platforms. If you want the paperback's on Amazon. If you like audiobooks, it's on Spotify, it's on Audible. If you like ebooks, it's on Barnes and Nobles, it's on Kindle. So any version you're looking for, I have it. It's called The Power of Networking, and I hope everyone looks for the book.
Awesome. And we'll add a link in the show notes as well. Now, what about you? Maybe somebody once listening says, man, we need to get Michael in our company to talk. Where can they find out more about you and engage with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my own website. It's Michael V. Morgan. So V is in Victor, michaelvmorgan.com. So feel free to go on my website. I have a contact me form where if you send me a message, it'll come right to my inbox. So feel free to go on my website. I'm also on LinkedIn. Michael Morgan PMP is my name on LinkedIn. If you want to search for me, I have my PMP certification. If you look by the URL, it's Michael V. Morgan on LinkedIn. But whether you connect to me through my website or through LinkedIn, I'd love to hear from all of you. I'm here to help any way that I can. If I can help in your personal life and your career aspirations, definitely reach out. If you're looking for a speaker for an event, for an organization, a company, feel free to reach out as well. But I look forward to hearing from all of you.
Awesome. And now for a little bit of fun, at the end of every episode, I ask all my guests 3 questions, kind of rapid fire. The first question, which really just comes out of all of the conversations that I've had with leadership experts around the globe, and as well my clients and businesses that I engage with. And many times we talk about what's missing in the public school system. Hence, maybe there's something that a business says, man, I wish that the candidates coming to us out of high school had this type of skill. or, sometimes people might say, when I'm engaging with the younger generation, it doesn't seem like they've learned this. And I thought, what a great opportunity to ask leadership experts from a leadership standpoint. If you had all the school administrators in the world sitting in front of you and you could offer them one piece of advice of something that they could include in the curriculum from a leadership standpoint, what would it be?
Absolutely. I think there needs to be more of a focus on the term soft skills. So I feel like a lot of schools focus on the technical skills to get the job done, but they're leaving out communication skills. They're leaving out presentation skills. They're leaving out emotional intelligence. How do you manage your emotions? How do you manage the emotions of others? Empathy. So these are a lot of things that people just don't think about. So where, yes, I need the technical skills and acumen to get the job done, but I need to be able to effectively communicate and influence people and deal with emotional intelligence. Those are the things that are going to get me to that leadership level. So I do wish that was more of a focus. Some of those softer skills that just get overlooked often.
Second question. What is your go-to book over the years that has helped guide you through all of your experiences and your growth that you continually go back to and reread or look at sections of?
Absolutely. Never Eat Alone. That's by far my favorite book. That's the first book that really opened my eyes when it came to networking. So I reread that probably once every 2 to 3 years. But it's a fantastic read, and it's taken my career to a whole nother level once I understood and grasped from those concepts and started implementing them in my life.
Awesome. And last question, in the ever-changing world of technology and AI and phones and watches and drones and everything that's out there, what is your piece of technology that you find most useful today?
Most useful today? I would say probably my phone. It's just always convenient right next to me, whether I'm on the go, whether I'm home. My work emails are on my phone. My personal emails are on my phone. So when I'm on the go, if I need to do something work-wise, if I need to do something personal, there's just so many aspects. It's just very convenient for me. And I love to travel. I've told you, I've traveled a lot for work. I've traveled a lot for personal. And that's just something that's very easy to take with me anywhere that I go. So I say I love my phone.
Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. I had a lot of fun in the conversation. Hopefully, maybe we'll get you back on here again in the future. I think there's much more that we could talk about. But thank you for joining us and sharing your insights with our listeners today.
Thank you. Like I said, it's been a pleasure being on your podcast today.
And for all of our listeners, if you've enjoyed this show, don't forget to check out our past episodes and as well check out our website at McCoyLeadership.com. And until next time, we appreciate all of our listeners. Thank you.